Hello everyone, I'm Kathi Powers, Superintendent with the Twinsburg City School District. Welcome to Twinsburg Schools Today. Well, we have such fantastic news to share with our community today because we have recently received our state report card from the Department of Education in Ohio, and our show today is going to be a little bit about that, a little bit about the science of reading, and a little bit more about dyslexia screening, as well as some information about our career continuum. And joining me today is our Director of Curriculum and Technology, Mrs. Jen Farthing. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a great fall so far in your department.
It has been. It's been very busy.
Yes.
It's hard to believe that we are already at the quarter mark.
I know.
So.
It is impossible how fast school goes. I think because
Yes.
we're always planning for the next season.
Yes.
Or the next something or another.
Always, yes.
Yes. And today we're here to celebrate, at the beginning of the show, some great news that we received from the department. And, you know, we don't really have a local newspaper anymore that's in print. And unless folks are keying into something online, they might have missed it. So this show is a great opportunity to just talk about the success of our students from last school year.
Yes. Well, we were so excited when we received the local report card this year because we earned 5 out of 5 stars. And it just was a lot of work in the 23-24 school year, or yes, the 22-23 school year that made that happen, but it just was very exciting. So what we'd like to do is just walk through a little bit about each of the categories, and we'll have a video showing those also. So.
Right. Now this is a switch because we used to get a report card grade.
We did.
And now it's the star system.
Correct. So this is the first year we had an overall rating, and again, 5 out of 5 stars. So it was a great day at the board office when we got that news.
Right.
So.
And I guess before we even get to the publication of a report card such as this one, behind the scenes, all past summer, you were very busy with our administrative team and the teachers, sort of sorting through all of the data. That takes a lot of time and energy to do that.
Yes. So when the scores come in, we upload them into our system, and then Mrs. Freehoff, our data specialist, she does her magic, I like to call it, and then once she has done all of her parts, we receive reports back, and the reports that come back let us know if we were missing a student or if we need to look for something. So that gives us an indication that we need to dig down a little bit and find out some information, and that usually happens in May, end of May, early June, and then what happens is they release the reports gradually. And so that allows us and the team to just dig in again and look at each of them individually and say, okay, so we're still missing a few things, or this looks really good, and it gives us the opportunity to fix anything that we may need to fix. We don't usually have to do that, but just in case.
There's an appeal process.
Correct.
Right. Well, a lot of work behind the scenes, but now it's time to talk a little bit about this publicly and to celebrate the successes of our students.
Yes, so there are components that make up our report card. So the first component in the report card is the achievement component, and we earned 5 out of 5 stars in the achievement component. And the achievement component is based on the performance index, and that's the weighted averages that our students earn. So it goes from basic to proficient to accelerated and advanced, and students earn points for each of those. And then that score is based on the weighted average of the entire state of Ohio, the top 2%. And we earned 90% out of that, and it ended up being 5 out of 5 stars.
That's tremendous.
Yes.
Great job to our students.
Absolutely. One of the other categories in there is progress, and progress used to be known as value added, and that is when our students need to make 1 year of growth, or that's the minimum that we want to make, is 1 year of growth, and each subject area is broken down in each grade level, and that ended up being a 4 out of 5 stars. So, and all of our students showing that they made a year's worth of growth. And I know that some of these reports probably on the screen are small, but all of this is available online also. So we can share that link at the end as how to get to this.
That's right. And you know what's remarkable about the growth piece is coming out of the pandemic, and how some of our students have these academic gaps, but working so diligently with staff, with teachers, with our parents to support us so in so many different ways. It makes a huge difference, everyone rowing in the same direction for the kids.
It does. And we also were very fortunate last year that we were able to use some of our ESSER dollars to provide staff that really was instrumental in the gap filling. And I think that, I don't want to say I think, I know that made a difference for our students and our staff last year, that we had those extra staff members just able to fill those gaps. And I can't say we're recovered from the pandemic, but I do know we made nice gains last year.
Yes, and those ESSER dollars came just at the right time to help.
Yes, they did, yes. One of the other components on the report card is gap closing, and we earned 5 stars in gap closing. And gap closing is all about our subgroups. So it breaks down our Caucasian students, our Black students, Hispanic students, EL students, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged students, and it takes the progress that all of those students have made. And that is a very detailed report, and there are lots of moving parts in that measure. But our students did very well there, and it's just a different way of looking at it. It's in the past been called AMO, AYP, so it's had lots of different names, and right now it is gap closing. And one feature of gap closing that I would really like to celebrate is our Gifted Performance Index. We talked about Performance Index a moment ago, and the max score in Ohio was 120.5, and our students in the students that are academically gifted earned a 119.6.
That's huge.
So it was not even barely a point difference. So we were right up there, and we've never had anything like that. And it used to, we have always had that goal of 120, and we're like, are we ever going to get there? But this group of students did, and we're very proud of them and the work that the teachers did with them to make that happen.
That's tremendous.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It really is amazing.
Yes.
It's just kind of hard to believe. So very proud of that.
That's right.
And then another measure on the report card is graduation. And a lot of people think of graduation as just a high school measure, but it really starts at Wilcox with our preschool or kindergarten students, because it takes all of those years to make our students ready for graduation, and we earned 5 stars in graduation.
That's tremendous.
Yes.
Yes. I know how much work that is.
It is a lot of work.
Yes.
And it takes a team effort, and so it took a team effort to get them to 12th grade, and then also in 12th grade. It takes a lot to make sure all of our students are ready to cross the stage at E.J. Thomas Hall.
But you know, as you said, starting from our youngest students with the watch meetings at Wilcox Primary School, all the way up through the continuum of schools here, I know that our administrators and our teachers and the support staff are really focused on intervention, and that's what it takes to get 5 stars, is to pay attention as early as preschool and kindergarten, getting students what they need, and ultimately this is the end result. So that's a tremendous effort from everybody.
And that was a perfect segue, because the next indicator on the report card is early literacy.
There you go.
And early literacy is our focus with K through 3, and making sure that our students are making gains. And we have what's called a RIMP, which is a reading improvement plan for our students who don't perform well on the reading diagnostic. And the goal is that each year more students come off of their RIMP. And this is our first year that we earned 5 stars in early literacy. And we're going to talk about the science of reading and how we think that happened. But we were in like what would have been 3 stars for years and years and years, sometimes maybe even 2 stars. So the 5 stars this year was just a very exciting, I've said excited a lot, but it's a very exciting thing for Wilcox and Bissell this year.
It really is, and I know it was almost an elusive thing for us.
Yes.
Trying to figure out the right formula, and we have it now, and so congratulations. That was a lot of work on behalf of the buildings of Wilcox and Bissell especially.
Yes, it was. So that we're very excited about that. Again, I've said excited again, but there's a lot of things that we're very excited about.
This is true.
And then we'll go briefly through these other things. The other measure on the report card, which was a non-report this year, which meant that what didn't count in the 5-star rating, was the college career workforce and military readiness component. So they've put a lot of high school items in there, things like ACT, SAT, AP, military, dual credit, college credit plus, all of those things are in there. And the ODE legislators are still working on how that's going to show in a measurement, but right now that's just a non-report.
That's good. There's so many programs at the high school for students to be engaged in, for sure.
Yes, there are. And then next we have our schools, and each school earned a 4 or higher on their ratings. Twinsburg High School earned 5 stars. R.B. Chamberlain Middle School earned 4 stars. This year they allowed a 4.5 stars, and George G. Dodge Intermediate School earned 4.5 stars. Samuel Bissell Elementary School earned 5 stars, and Wilcox Primary earned 5 stars. So kudos and shout out to every stakeholder and every person who had a part in that. I'm very proud of the work that was done during the last school year to make that happen for us.
And every student.
Yes.
Really worked hard, and
Yes.
that was the result of all of that hard work. Well, and congratulations to you, too, and your department. I know behind the scenes, what a great effort goes into it to make it all work. And, you know, when you get this publication of the report card, it's a wonderful thing, and we're celebrating. But behind the scenes, getting us here, it just takes a lot of energy and effort. So thank you for everything, too.
Thank you. It's completely a team effort, without a doubt.
For sure. So, switching gears a little bit, we've heard a lot in Ohio, especially since Governor DeWine has become very interested in early literacy and literacy as a topic, about this thing called science of reading. And as a school district, we really haven't had much of a chance to talk a little about it. What is it? Why is it important? So today is a little bit of a chance to do that. So can you explain to our viewers a little bit about the science of reading and why this is now the push in Ohio?
Yes, and I actually would like to read this quote because I think it sums up things very nicely. And the source is the Reading League. And the science of reading is a vast interdisciplinary body of scientific-based research about reading and issues related to reading and writing. This research has been conducted over the last 5 decades around the world, and it is derived from thousands of studies conducted in multiple languages. The science of reading has accumulated in a preponderance of evidence to inform how proficient reading and writing develops, why some have difficulty, and how we can most effectively assess and teach and therefore improve student outcomes through the prevention and intervention of reading difficulties. And that's a mouthful.
It is, for sure.
But, and again, the source is the Reading League. And that just, again, that was a lot of words, but it really shows what the science of reading is and how it happens. And what I'd like to do is talk through some visuals that I think may help with the conversation. One thing that when people talk about the science of reading, we need to not think about the science of reading as a program. It is absolutely, most certainly not a program. It's not, we're not going to, it's science, it's research, and I'll get into that in a moment. It's not a specific component. It's not just adding phonics back, because, you know, a lot of the things, we've both been doing this a little while now, and the pendulum swings back and forth with education, and this is really not a swing. It's not adding phonics back. It's not a fad. It's not a trend. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that.
That's good, because you hear a lot about, science of reading is just, we're just going to do more phonics class. And it really isn't.
It is not. So what is the science of reading? It's really all about the brain and how we learn to read. And it is called orthographic mapping, and that is how the map is made in your brain. Our brains, and when you're a child, all of us, we're wired to speak. We're not wired to read. So there's a lot of work that has to happen in the brain when you are reading, and that goes for skilled readers, and that goes for struggling readers. So our brains, they're wired that way, and there's a gentleman, Stanislaw Dehaene, and he is from Europe, and if anyone ever wants to watch it, there's all kinds of videos on YouTube about this, and there are some that are hours long, and there are some that can just answer your questions in 5 minutes, because I'm not an expert in this, and he is, but it's all about how the brain learns to read. And when the MRIs have actually been used to watch someone read, and the next image is a brain firing when it's reading, and you can see all of the different areas that are working when a skilled reader is reading, and everything is happening. It used to be, I don't want to say a joke, but it used to be teaching reading isn't rocket science. But you know what? Teaching reading really is like rocket science. And there is a lot going on. And if you're thinking about someone their brain is wired to speak, well, reading is totally different. And then you have all of those sounds and everything that's just a little bit different. So it really can be challenging.
Sure.
In practical terms, what we've done is we've broken it down into the simple view of reading. And in the simple view of reading, it's a multiplication problem. And we have decoding on one side, and then we have language comprehension. And you have to have both of those. So if you don't have decoding or you don't have language comprehension, anything times 0 is 0.
So decoding means phonics? Sounds?
Yes, so sounds and how to actually sound out the word. So if you don't have that, you can't read. You can't put it all together. So it used to be we would have conversations that our students can't comprehend. Comprehension is so far down the line and where the students may be struggling that we have a lot, probably the foundational, that needs to be done before the students can comprehend.
So in our district we have foundations.
We use foundations, correct.
And that's meant to help students learn how to decode words.
Correct, yes. And we use foundations grades 1, 2, and 3. And this year we are trying out UFly, which is University of Florida's Literary Institute. And it is broken down into very similar to foundations, but it seems to be almost perfect for kindergarten. So we'll know more about that soon, but right now it's working very well for our kindergartens.
And the teachers love it.
Yes,
from what
it
I've
is
been told.
Working very well. It's very systematic and explicit, which is what we'll talk about in a few minutes. You just really have to have a very clear program with very clear expectations, and just, I don't want to say basic, but it's a very clear pattern and moving forward with that. So. In addition to the simple view of reading, there is something called Scarborough's reading rope, and Hollis Scarborough is her name, and what she did was she expanded on, I don't know how it all worked, but it's the simple view of reading in another format, and you will see that with language comprehension, there are multiple things that go into language comprehension, like background knowledge, vocabulary, the structure of words, verbal reasoning, literary knowledge, and then you also have word recognition, which is the phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition. And all of those pieces have to go together to become a skilled reader. And so again, thinking about it is kind of like rocket science, that it does take a lot of work to make sure all of those pieces work together so that our students are not struggling readers.
And you know, if you think about it, not only just the students that go to our school district, but even the youngest of the children that live in our community, how parents of our preschoolers and even before preschool really have to understand all of the science behind their child eventually becoming a skilled reader.
Yes, it involves a lot, and as many opportunities that we can have with sounds and print for those youngest learners is just fantastic.
Start them early.
Yes, start them very early. The Reading League also issued an equity statement, and they have been very vocal about this, that we believe that literary success for all is a defining human right of the 21st century, regardless of zip code, ethnic origin, dialect, or language. We urge you to join us by insisting that all children are afforded instruction that prepares them to read and write at proficient and advanced levels. Children who are skilled readers and writers will be empowered by their literacy and will refuse to be defined by the low expectation of others.
That's a powerful statement.
Yes, it is. And that's one thing that is just one of our major goals, that every student is ready to read and write. And I think if you can do those things, I'm not going to say life is going to be easy, but that's the foundation you need for success.
Right. Yeah, at least you're on the path to success.
Correct. Exactly.
For sure.
And lastly on this, almost lastly on this topic, to put it all together, the science of reading is what you could consider the evidence, what you could consider the science. And then what we're putting together in our classroom is called structured literacy. That's the application. That's the part where we want everything to be systematic and explicit. so I guess it can't be willy-nilly. It has to be very clearly defined expectations and a good course of study, making sure we have a clear and consistent path. So structured literacy is what our families can plan to know about and hear and know that that's what we're doing in our classrooms. And our K-3 families with report cards that would have gone out just a few weeks ago, there will be a flyer or documentation about what to expect in K-3 literacy in their classrooms for their children.
That's great. And in the meantime, our staff is busy trying to become as knowledgeable in science of reading as possible. It just wasn't this year. They've been working on this
Yes.
for a couple of years now.
Correct. And the reason we've been, well, not the only reason we've been working on that, but Ohio, a few years, in January of 20, released Ohio's plan to raise literary achievement. It is a great document that has all kinds of information about literacy and the plans for Ohio. And then an outpouring of that was Ohio's Dyslexia Guidebook. And that guidebook was released in July of 22. There were lots and lots and lots of drafts of that document. But that is the guidance that we are following. Both of those as our guidance now.
And where can families find those documents if they're interested?
You can do a simple Google search and they will come up. It can be found on Ohio Department of Education's website, and also we have links to them on the curriculum website for the Twinsburg City School District.
Nice. So this whole new effort with regard to screening for dyslexia is a long time in coming. And you and I have talked in our days as teachers back in the day, right?
Yes.
Dyslexia was never something that a school district would even screen for.
Correct.
And fast forward to 2022, 23, now 24 almost, this is something that becomes important to help identify students who are struggling readers. Can you just talk a little bit about the screener?
Yes. In our district, we decided to use M-Class, which is a product by Amplify, so parents may hear it referred to different ways. What M-Class is Dibbles, and we have used Dibbles a long time ago. We took a tiny little hiatus from Dibbles, but Dibbles stands for Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills, so that's why we just call it Dibbles. But Dibbles will assess things like letter naming fluency. It assesses nonsense words, so it is the very root and base of literacy and reading. So we use M-Class, and the other component of M-Class is that it gives lessons that the teachers can use after that with their small targeted groups. Mm-hmm. When we did Dibbles years ago, it was paper pencil, and that was kind of the end of it. We knew that this was an area the student was weak in. However, now with this tool, it's harnessing the power of technology and saying, okay, so in this area, you could group these 5 students in your class and work on this skill, and it does provide the lesson for the teachers as well.
Very prescriptive.
It is very prescriptive. So our families will be receiving a Home Connect family report. And what that will do is it is a 3-page document, and it will give a breakdown. It looks a little different depending on which grade level your child is in. And it will break it down and show if the student is in red, yellow, or a green or blue area for most supports and above the goal. They will receive these reports 3 times a year. And we, in the first ones, will be going out with at the time that the quarter 1 marking period is over. The really nice thing about this report is on page 2 of the report, it is going to provide targeted ideas for the families to use at home. It is, when we get our OST reports, it's kind of generic for what the families can do at home, but this is very specific to that child, and it tells things to do that you can do while you're driving down the road. Things that don't involve manipulatives, or some that do, but they're very quick hitters. It's just meant to do something on a regular basis with your child, and then there's a link to get more activities for the Home Connect.
That's great. What a helpful tool for parents.
It really is, and that will it will be different each time. So families will be receiving these reports 3 times during the year: fall, in January, and then in May. And it should be different based on the progress the child is making. And I think that we've lost that just like the making up words and the rhyming words. I just rhymed words that weren't real words, but that's what some of the students are assessed on now. And students don't love to do the nonsense words because they're like, that's not a word. And we're like, we know it's not a word, but when you can sound that out, we know you're in a great spot. So we know that, but those are great tools that the families can use, quick, easy, just something, again, really driving in the car. It shouldn't be laborious. It's meant to be fun. That's one thing about these activities, that they're meant to be fun. On the last page of this document, this is where the students will, their extra measures that are in DIBELS, they are vocabulary, spelling, and rapid automatized naming, also known as RAN. And those are some of the tools that M-Class will use to determine if there are dyslexic tendencies in the students. So we have a small percentage of students right now that struggled with the composite score and then one of these measures as well. So this is the tool that we're going to use as our starting point, and then teachers will be working to progress monitor the students, and we have a flow chart that explains everything that families will work through. These conversations are happening at conference nights, but we think M-Class is a great tool for us to at least get us started on having these conversations with families.
So what does a parent do when they receive the report and there's some tendencies, some red flags? What would I do if my child was in that case?
If that is your child, you really want to focus on that page that has the Home Connect activities and anything you can do, and that is going to be 100% supporting what the classroom teacher is working on also. And I just want our families to rest assured that we were going to be in constant communication with them, and we are required after the progress monitoring to continue to have conversations and continue to do work with their child and additional measures that we'll be screening their child with.
Great. Well, we have just about a minute left.
Oh my
in our
goodness
show.
gracious,
I know so much
Mrs.
to talk
Powers.
about. Right? Just a commercial announcement then for our career continuum.
Yes. Last year, our curriculum supervisor, Mr. Popovich, created a career continuum with support of all of our buildings. And what it is it's a document that shows our flow from kindergarten through 12th grade of what our families can expect in career activities that their students will be participating in, and just preparing everyone for their future, whatever it may be.
That's great, because we talk about being future ready,
Yes.
but you need to talk about that as young as preschool.
Yes, all the way.
Really?
So when they're in high school, they're not surprised.
And where can we find a copy of the continuum?
And the career continuum is linked on the curriculum website, and there's everything we talked about today will be linked on that website. Also coming soon will be some short clips of videos to explain what the science of reading is for our families, but everything we talked about is available on the curriculum website.
That's great. We could talk another hour. There's so
We
much
could.
to chat about. Well, congratulations again on a great launch to it. I know it's going to be a fantastic school year.
Yes, thank you.
And so much teamwork goes underway in the Twinsburg City School District,
it does.
and your efforts are sincerely appreciated.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I hope you learned a little bit about what's going on in our curriculum department here in the Twinsburg City School District. So much to be tiger proud about. Just one announcement that the week of November 20th, the entire week, is going to be Thanksgiving break, and we certainly hope that our families get a chance to spend some quality time together. We are very grateful to every one of you, and we thank you for your support of the Twinsburg City School District. Have a great day, everybody.